making the residents uncertain about the status of their compensation. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure on the following. 1, a comprehensive report on
each other. If we can do them an open market that is more favorable and ensure every person.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Honorable Mark Mwenje.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. This is a request for a statement regarding fire incidents in Nairobi County. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding the fire incidents in 4 markets within Nairobi City County. Honorable Speaker, in the recent past, several markets in Nairobi have been affected by devastating fires. These incidents highlight the recurring issues of market fires in Nairobi, which occasion substantial financial losses and raise concerns on safety measures and emergency response by the government. These incidences have a profound impact on local traders, many of whom have lost their livelihoods and are now seeking assistance to rebuild their businesses. Honorable Speaker, on Friday, 2nd of August, the market adjacent to Thika Road Mall was destroyed by fire. The following day, Honorable Speaker, on Saturday, 3rd August, Toy Market in Kibra constituency, Umoja 2 Open Air Market in Embakasi West constituency, Mathare 4A Market in Mathare constituency, and Kayole Market next to Naivas in Embakasi Central constituency were all simultaneously destroyed by fires that raged between the hours of 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. On the same day, at varying times, Honorable Speaker, in Kibondeni Market in Kawangware and Bondeni Market in Kibra constituency were also affected by fires. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the following. A detailed report on the investigations conducted to determine the cause of the fires in the above-mentioned areas, the relief measures that the government is putting in place to support the traders who lost their livelihoods and any compensation plan in place, and finally, the long-term plans being implemented to protect markets in the Nairobi region. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I believe there is a member, Beatrice Elachi, who is also here, who perhaps...
Once you ask for a statement and you finish, you sit down. You have no business soliciting for anybody to speak to it.
Honorable Speaker.
You just let whoever wants to ride on your statement as a joy rider request, but you don't solicit for anybody. Yes, Elachi, you are the joy rider.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, on a light note. But, Mr. Speaker, it is true that indeed we would wish the chairman also to look at the issue if the market is banned, then what happens? Because we want to see now the markets, the counties being able to ensure we have perimeter walls on these markets. And since members of the markets know themselves, for example, in Toy Market, they have been there for many years, for more than 20, 30 years. They know each other. If we can do them an open market that is more favorable and ensure every person gets, then that will be better. So for me, Mr. Speaker, we are requesting the governor of Nairobi to look at these markets at a serious note and to ensure every person who has now become a victim of this is also supported so that they can restart their businesses. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mama Dagoretti. Tongoyo, this is to you. How soon can you bring a response? Give Honorable Tongoyo the mic.
I appreciate, and first I want really also to really apologize for the families and the members who were victim of the same. But Mr. Speaker, you noted that I've got quite a number of piling and responded statements. And the reason being given by the ministries, majority of these are given by the officers who have been trying to calm the situation. So I will kindly ask to have it responded in 2 weeks so that I address to the more urgent and the previous ones next week.
Next week? 2 weeks?
2 weeks on this particular one.
Okay.
Yes.
Mwenje, 2 weeks? Okay. Honorable Lillian Sioi. Not present. Response to, before we come to response, Honorable Tandaza. Give Honorable Tandaza. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44 2C, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the compensation of residents of Southern Bypass, commonly known as Dongokundu. Honorable Speaker, the Dongokundu Road serves as a crucial bypass which connects Miritini and Kwale County with 3 bridges. To pave way for constructing the road, several residents surrendered their land with a legitimate expectation for compensation. In spite of the strategic nature of the bypass, which has lessened the time spent driving between Miritini Standard Gauge Railway Station to Diani from 2.5 hours to approximately 45 minutes, it is saddening that approximately 1.4 billion shillings that was meant for compensation was halted and is yet to be paid to the remaining beneficiaries. The situation is worsened by the fact that the road is now open and operational, making the residents uncertain about the status of their compensation. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure on the following. 1, a comprehensive report on the number of persons whose land was acquired for construction of the bypass, the number already compensated and the status of compensation of the remaining beneficiaries, and 2, reasons for the delay and the timelines for remittances of the remaining beneficiaries, noting that the road is already in use. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Tandaza. Chair, Roads and Transport. Betsimba, you are the Vice Chair or a member of the committee?
I am Honorable Badi Twalib. I'm not Honorable Bezimba.
Betsimba was standing in front of you.
No, he has just come to me to consult on a certain matter.
Okay,
as a ranking member, you know, very many people need to consult me before doing anything. Honorable Speaker.
Okay, but Twalib, the ranking member.
Okay, Honorable Speaker, as a member of Transport Committee, I am very much aware about that road, because that road starts from my constituency.
The only thing I want
So,
to
on
order-
behalf of the Chairman,
Yes.
Transport Committee, Honorable Speaker, in 2 weeks' time, we're going to give him a reply on the same.
2 weeks,
2 weeks' time.
so that, thank you. Yes, Tandaza? Honorable Tandaza?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think 2 weeks will be too long, given that we expect this road to be officially opened anytime. And once it's officially opened, I'm really worried about how we'll be able again to follow up the matter of compensation. So I think 2 weeks is too long, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Nyamai?
Honorable Speaker.
Give the mic to Honorable Nyamai.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I agree with the statement that it is urgent, among other roads that are already in use. Excuse me. That are already being used, like Kibwezi-Kitui Road, Mr. Speaker, that compensation has not been done, that needs to be addressed urgently. Honorable Speaker, I was wondering whether this matter will also touch on National Land Commission, and the Vice Chair for Lands Committee is in the House. So I was just wondering whether it may touch on NLC, Honorable Speaker. I'm just asking for your guidance on that.
Okay, who is the Vice Chair of Lands Committee? Jen, Kiara, I saw you.
Yes, I was raising my hand, Mr. Speaker, because this is a matter before us as a committee. So it should have been directed to the Lands Committee. His question should have been directed to the Lands Committee, so then we can follow up with the National Land Commission.
Honorable Tandaza, have you misdirected your request?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As a matter of fact, I'm aware that all the funds for these roads are with the National Land Commission. But of course, from the table office, that is the way it was done. But I'm aware the National Lands Commission have all the funds as we stand here.
I direct that despite the enthusiasm of Badi Twalib, the question be directed to the Committee on Lands to deal with it. So Jen, can you have the answer here by Thursday next week?
Mr. Speaker, will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Beatrice Elach. Honorable Beatrice Elach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to request for a statement regarding the arrest and deportation of 36 Ugandans from Kisumu, Kenya, pursuant to Standing Order 44-2C. I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence, and Foreign Relations regarding the arrest and deportation of 36 Ugandans from Kisumu, Kenya. Honorable Speaker, the 36 Ugandans believed to be members of the Forum of Democratic Change, FDC party, had been lawfully admitted into Kenya to participate in a leadership training program in Kisumu County. However, on the 23rd July 2024, armed individuals believed to be a combination of Ugandan and Kenyan security personnel allegedly assaulted and arrested the individuals and immediately deported them to Uganda, where they were charged with terrorism-related offenses at the Nakawa Chief Magistrates Court. It is of great concern that despite having been lawfully admitted into the country, the Ugandans were deported without a legal basis, paid Ugandan nationals, exacerbates the risk likely to be faced by them at home due to their divergent political opinions. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence, and Foreign Relations on the following. Details on the circumstance that led to the arrest and deportation of the 36 Ugandans who are believed to be members of the Forum of Democratic Change, FDC party, and whether there were any extradition orders providing clearance for their deportation. A report on treaties, if any, signed between the government of Kenya and international communities, including the East African Community. and international communities, including the East African community. And international communities, including the East African community.
Explain why. And finally, outline any measures put in place to address mental health needs of the team whilst participating in the current and future Olympic Games. Thank you.
Senator.
And international communities, including the East.
To Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fishery regarding stalled or abandoned infrastructure projects in Bomet County. Mr. Speaker, several incomplete and abandoned agricultural infrastructure projects in Bomet County represent a significant waste of public resources and have deprived the residents of Bomet of services and benefits they rightfully deserve. I would like to highlight specific projects that have remained incomplete or abandoned for between 3 to 10 years, leading to substantial waste of public resources. Meneti Buying Center in Kembu Ward, Mogido Potato Factory in Daraweta Ward, Chemomul Tea Buying Center in Chesoen Ward, Chemiriot Tea Buying Center, Chesoen Ward, Morit Tea Buying Center, Chesoen Ward, Kipsonoi Tea Buying Center, Kipsonoi Ward, Menguet Hesto, Congo Sis Ward. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state reason why each project has stalled, been abandoned, or remained incomplete, or is underutilized, and outline the measures and timelines for their anticipated completion and stroke utilization. 2, indicate the individual budgetary allocation, expenditures, payments made to the respective contractors and any pending payments. 3, table the minutes of the tender awards, copies of tender advertisement, and tender evaluation reports for each listed project. And 4, provide the bill of quantity for each project and their current implementation status or development stage. Signed by Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei, MP, Senator from Bomet County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mwenda Gataya, Mofire. That statement is dropped. Now the floor is open for purposes of contributing to the statements that have been requested. Senator Mohamed Chute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Let me first of all take this opportunity to thank or congratulate the CSS who are sworn in today. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, the majority leader has spoken about the issue that he raised. I want to notify him that as Chair, National Cohesion Equal Opportunity, we've already invited PPRA, Public Procurement Regulatory Authority today, and we had a meeting with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission today. We've invited Public Service Commission. They've asked for more time. Coming back to the issue of the statements, Honorable Speaker, I want to contribute to the statement by Senator Kaduri. Honorable Speaker, we have a problem in this country, mainly health issues. Honorable Speaker, in Marsabit, health workers were not paid for almost 5 months. Interns are not paid for almost 6 months, up to 7 months, some of them. Honorable Speaker, last week, a lady called me from Marsabit. There is a hospital in Moyale. She visited that hospital. She was given a list for an inpatient that she was supposed to be admitted in that hospital. Honorable Speaker, she was given a list to bring water bucket, a soap, a bar of soap, her own bed sheet, slippers, pillowcase, syringes, surgical gloves, and mattresses, Honorable Speaker. In some instances, a patient will be asked to bring water to that hospital or clinic, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to urge the Senate to visit hospitals. If we can, we need to ask the committee, the health committee, to organize a program that they can have a program to visit hospitals, Honorable Speaker. Because, let me give you an example. About 2 weeks ago, Marsabit Hospital, people are demonstrating, the staff. And if the staffs are demonstrating because they have not been paid salary, what will happen to the patients, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, I want to give you an example. November 2023, salary was released by COB for Marsabit Hospital, for Marsabit County, 264 million. That money has not been paid, the salary has not been paid for November 2023. I brought that statement and I got a response from COB that the money has been dispatched, and if they have not paid, that is a question the governor should be asked. Honorable Speaker, we have a problem in our counties. I want to support this issue of pending bills. Honorable Speaker, we need to do something about pending bills. The people who are suffering out there are Kenyans. Some of them have borrowed money. Some of them have even sold their properties. And you can find somebody going to hospitals not because he's sick, it's because of depression, Honorable Speaker. I want to thank Senator Narok for bringing this issue to the floor of the House. And the motion he has brought must be dealt with, as you said, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, finally, we need to have a conversation on what is supposed to be done to the counties. Honorable Speaker, this morning we had an opportunity to have Director General of PPRA before us, and he told us there is a big problem in both counties and even national government on procurement issues. That is why we are having pending bills. Honorable Speaker, pending bills, you see, when they come and source for money, the money that is supposed to go to a particular contractor or supplier is diverted in between somewhere. Honorable Speaker, we need to have a conversation on, this is a Senate that can curtail those counties. Honorable Speaker, finally, let me request this House, let's take this matter of counties, specifically hospitals, very seriously. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Before I call the next speaker, there are two statements that I will allow, being the last day before we break off for the session. Senator Cheranga, you may proceed.
One, provide details of all the unsold tea currently being kept at Mombasa Tea Market or auction. Number two, state the reasons that led to over 20 million kilograms of tea to remain unsold for several months after delivery, stating its freshness level. Number three, Mr. Speaker, explain the details of the stored tea in terms of the number of farmers affected across the country, indicating total cost of warehousing accrued and who will pay for the storage. Number four, Mr. Speaker, state the impact in pricing of the tea auction in Mombasa caused by accumulation of unsold fresh tea. And finally, Mr. Speaker, what actions have Tea Board of Kenya, TBK, and Kenya Tea Development Authority, KTDA, taken to mitigate on the problem and ensure farmers get their pay without delay? Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
We go back to the floor of the House. Senator Betsiengo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to support the statement by Senator from Meru County, our Deputy Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as the previous speaker has already indicated, Senator for Marsabit, we have a big problem in this country concerning healthcare services. But before I come to that, Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to thank the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Dr. Samoei William Ruto, overseeing today the swearing in of the broad-based government. And Mr. Speaker, allow me to declare that it is the beginning of the solving of many problems in this country. I can declare without fear of contradiction that from today we are heading to the right direction and we are going to get a new Kenya.
No, you can't.
There are issues, of course, to be sorted out from this moment, but the longest journey, Mr. Speaker, starts with a single step. And that step has been taken today. Back to the statement, Mr. Speaker. Healthcare services requires serious thought in this country. We cannot have a sick nation. We need healthcare service providers to be paid, the system to be managed well. This problem is not only in Meru County, but also in other counties, including where I come from, Kitui County, Nairobi County, and all the other counties in this nation. The issues of demoralized healthcare workers is a serious thorn in the flesh. We need healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, physicians, all of them, to be well paid, to live in good environment, to be taken care of, and to be appreciated for that special service that they offer to the citizens of this nation. Unemployment of qualified health workers, Mr. Speaker, makes our qualified, very good brains move from our country to seek for greener pastures elsewhere, and we are lacking the same that we require in this nation, Mr. Speaker. Allow me to say, as a recommendation, for the new CS of Health who was sworn in today, I hope she would take a bold step and initiate a process of having or to establish a health commission. Because I am encouraged that with the Health Commission, many issues affecting our health workers in the counties will be sorted out. We'll have an energetic health worker team, and things will be sorted out, and we'll have a healthy nation by having qualified, good, encouraging health service providers in this nation. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Senate Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I'll try and be real quick. Number one, this issue of tea raised by Senator Gerard Gay, we share partly in the blame as a Senate. For about 3 months now, the tea bill has been at the committee of the whole stage. And I want to say this, Mr. Speaker, with the chairpersons of Agriculture Committee here, so that they know that the tea farmers are looking up to this House to resolve their issues. If we cannot find time, Mr. Speaker, to consider a bill that is at the third reading for 3 good months, Mr. Speaker, then what other business do we have in this House? I want to plead that the chairperson of Agriculture takes this matter with the seriousness that it deserves, treats it better than we have treated the tea amendment bill by Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei, so that either they visit Mombasa and establish the truth about these unsold stocks of tea, Mr. Speaker, so that this House can be properly guided. And finally, is to come up with a long-lasting solution, because the issue is that I don't know whether there's a scientific connection, Mr. Speaker, between countries that have got political hardships and consumption of tea. Because many of our traditional markets, from Iran to Pakistan to Sudan, Mr. Speaker, and now Bangladesh, these are amongst the largest consumers of our black CTC tea that we produce in this country, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, when there are political upheavals in that country, markets are affected, and we have this challenge like what is being experienced in Mombasa. Therefore, the country must be guided on how to establish new markets, Mr. Speaker, for our tea, so that our farmers can continue earning from their sweat. Lastly, in just under a minute, Mr. Speaker, is to agree with Senator Crystal Asige. The performance of Team Kenya at the Paris Olympics, Mr. Speaker, has been nothing short of heartbreaking. As a fan of athletics, Mr. Speaker, I do not recall a time that we have performed as dismally as we have done in these Olympics. I know there are a few races that are yet to be concluded, but it broke my heart, Mr. Speaker, to see, and at the risk of sounding racist, to see Kenya lose the 3,000 steeplechase, 1,500, races that we have previously dominated and have come to be associated, actually, Mr. Speaker, with Kenya as a republic. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, the new Cabinet Secretary for Sports, Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, has his work properly cut out, Mr. Speaker. We must guide the country in the proper direction. The truth of the matter, whether we like it or not, is that science has caught up with talent. While many of our athletes are talented and therefore can make do despite our disorganization, the science of running, where athletes come into this country, they study, they train with us in Iten, then they disappear in January, back to their country now to practice for the final race at the Olympic time, Mr. Speaker, is that those people have learned how to do this art, even despite them not being as talented as our athletes, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, we must as well come up with better solutions on how to manage our athletes, Mr. Speaker. In fact, the final thing, Mr. Speaker, is it even starts with how we treat these athletes. You saw what happened with Team Kenya, part of our athletes. Forget about how they arrived here. You should ask the athletes how they travel. Many of them long connecting flights, Mr. Speaker, tired, not paid in due time, Mr. Speaker. I hope this will be things of the past. Therefore, I agree with Senator Crystal Asige that we must get to the bottom of this matter, Mr. Speaker, and reclaim our space as the world's leading athletic and sporting powerhouse. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Eddie Okech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I think I first of all want to really support the statement by Senator Crystal Asige. Mr. Speaker, the mantra in sports is that success in sport is 1% talent and 99% perspiration. And Mr. Speaker, I like the idea that the majority leader has put in place, that science has indeed caught up with talent. I think this is a big learning for us, that we must be able to actually appreciate that we are not investing so much on the perspiration side of this success. We're not investing in the right science. We're not investing in the right, areas that we need to invest in, and we're just waiting for our sportsmen and women to depend purely on talent. But more than that, Mr. Speaker, I also think that the evil of corruption has bedeviled our sports industry, Mr. Speaker. It is always very heartbreaking when you see, your own playing for the other team and, succeeding very well. For instance, the young lady who won the steeplechase for Bahrain, Mr. Speaker, a serious Kenyan who has been denied opportunities to be able to perform for Kenya just because of simple corruption issues, Mr. Speaker. These are issues that I hope that the next CS is going to address in the ministry and be able to allow true talent to get the opportunity that they deserve. And extending this issue of opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to the conversation that has been brought to the floor of this House by the wonderful Senator for Nandi, Senator Cherargei, on the issue, and I call him wonderful because for the first time I've seen him standing very strongly with the Gen Zs, Mr. Speaker, because he has brought a very eminent issue of Gen Zs who go to the street to protest, and then whether organically or through some dubious means, some people organize to go and attack those young people in the streets, Mr. Speaker, in Nandi, is not a phenomenon that we have only seen in Nandi. We have seen this phenomenon in Migori County, we have seen this phenomenon in Nairobi County, and we are seeing it becoming a serious pattern of attacking protesters and pitting Kenyans against Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. This cannot continue. We cannot sit as leaders and then we see people who come to the street to express themselves, to show their discontent, and then we devise a means of having Kenyans fight among themselves in the streets. It cannot happen. What I would want us to appreciate as a country, though, is that even if in the mind of some leaders that seems like a temporary solution, Mr. Speaker, we must focus on medium and long-term solution which has made young people agitated in this country, and that problem, and I hope that the majority leader, because he's also a young man in this house, can actually be able to listen to this, is that the problem that young people are facing in this country is an economic problem, and we must devise a proper solution towards it. And with the naming and confirmation of the current CSS, Mr. Speaker, I hope that they will recognize that we shall not know peace in this country if young people in this country are still wallowing in the miasma of economic disenfranchisement, Mr. Speaker. And it's very important, Mr. Speaker, that the ministers who have taken charge of this country now must start a proper engagement with areas that can be able to create economic opportunity for young people. As I finish, Mr. Speaker, there's been this phenomenon of sometimes exporting labor and sending young people outside the country. I saw the other day the Prime CS, flagging off about 167 young people who are going to be teachers outside the country, Mr. Speaker. There are serious industries in this country, Mr. Speaker, that I hope that the executive would listen carefully to this and start budgeting for those areas so that they are not excluded on the basis of tribal or regional budgeting that denies some areas opportunity that can be able to create employment for those areas. One of those areas that I'm very keen on, Mr. Speaker, as I saw the former governor of Mombasa, currently the CS of mining and blue economy is being sworn in, is, for instance, the Lake region, Mr. Speaker. If you look at Lake Victoria, where I happen to come from, Mr. Speaker, the immense potential in that area, Mr. Speaker, is something that hasn't been tapped, Mr. Speaker. As we speak right now, the country is facing a serious shortage of fish, Mr. Speaker. The market for fish in this country is 600 million metric tons, Mr. Speaker. And yet, what we have in the country currently is only 200 million metric tons, out of which 80% is only allowed as a wild catch and 20% is what people are growing in terms of fish caging, Mr. Speaker. If you look at the two companies that are in Lake Victoria today that are doing proper stocking of fish and fish farming, Mr. Speaker, you'll find that one of them is American. It's called Victoria Farms, Mr. Speaker. They are doing wonderful farming in that region, but even yet they are not able to scratch the surface. That farm alone employs 1,000 young people, Mr. Speaker. You can't compare. You can't compare. Gaspi Africa has done research in Lake Victoria and has shown that the lake on the side of Kenya alone can be able to produce up to 400 metric tons, Mr. Speaker, which is a market of 120 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker. Yet, in the country today, we are struggling to raise 145 billion, which is what we have cut in national budget in terms of fiscal consolidation. Rio Fish, that is also trying in Lake Victoria, Mr. Speaker, is now employing over 40 young people directly and 200 young people directly, Mr. Speaker. So, as I finish, Mr. Speaker, I want to say categorically that young people in this country will not be leaving streets anytime soon if we are not deliberate about solving the economic problems of young people in this country. As long as young people are hungry, as long as young people don't have jobs, as long as young people don't have income, Mr. Speaker, they will still go to the streets. So I want to call upon the CSS that have gotten the jobs today, starting from my very good friend, Honorable CS Mbadi, and CS, my friend CS Wandai. It is time that you go there as experts and make sure that you are able to dissect the economy and put in place projects that can be able to allow young people to get jobs in this country. With that, Mr. Speaker, I thank you so much, and I hope that we will look at the issue of economic empowerment of young people in this country. Thank you.
Senator Veronica.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity, and I want to support, first of all, the statement by Senator Asige on the performance of the athletes who are in Paris, Mr. Speaker. In this country, Mr. Speaker, we have a bulging population of the youth. If there is one sector that can be an answer to the current issues, the emerging issues that need to be resolved, it is the sports sector, Mr. Speaker. And the sooner that the ministry calls every county into account on what they are doing with sports, Mr. Speaker, and art skills and other skills, Mr. Speaker, that would impact on the lives and transformation of young people, the better it will be for our nation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if we look at the national budget and how much is being divested towards dealing with sports and such activities, Mr. Speaker, it will tell us the much concentration and the attention that is being given to that sector, Mr. Speaker. We have seen a lot of efforts in the management of sports, and I have seen even the enactment of anti-doping laws, Mr. Speaker, which appears to be a commitment towards bettering that industry. But, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, the way sports are being managed, Mr. Speaker, especially the athletics, Mr. Speaker, has left a lot to be desired. We have certain officials who have refused to move out of the offices, Mr. Speaker. They seem not to have a timeline within which they should serve and exit and allow other officials to come in, Mr. Speaker. Could that be one of the issues that is ailing the sports management in Kenya, Mr. Speaker? If that be the case, as this statement is being committed to the relevant committee, Mr. Speaker, it is a high time we reassessed where as a nation, where our focus is in relation to the youth, Mr. Speaker. This is one industry, this is one ministry, Mr. Speaker, that can respond adequately to the needs of the youth, Mr. Speaker. We have a lot of talent in Kenya, Mr. Speaker, among the young people, be it in football, basketball. When we were in Kigali last year, Mr. Speaker, we saw the kind of a stadium that has been built by Rwanda, Mr. Speaker. What stops our nation from building such stadiums, Mr. Speaker? Indeed, Mr. Speaker, both the private sector and public sector should be dedicated and committing to developing this sector, Mr. Speaker, because it worries every Kenyans a lot, Mr. Speaker, when a contractor has been given a stadium and they do a very shoddy job, such that we have to go to Kigali, we have to go to Rwanda to learn the kind of a stadium that another nation, which is just in our neighboring, Mr. Speaker, a much smaller nation than the Republic of Kenya, has put up a stadium which attracts international occupation, Mr. Speaker, and you know, international use, Mr. Speaker. Why do we have this kind of contractors doing this? Do they not also have mercy for Kenya? Mr. Speaker, actually, the private sector will have to reassess how they are engaging also with government. They should engage with a lot of integrity when it comes to the kind of procurement processes that are being done, the level of work, the quality of work. They should start becoming proud of delivering to Kenyans something that is equivalent to the kind of public resources that are being utilized for this procurement, Mr. Speaker. And if we are dedicated to give a good percentage of the national budget towards such a ministry, Mr. Speaker, nothing stops this nation from having enough engagement of youths and youths feeling that we are giving focus to them, Mr. Speaker. We are also very concerned, Mr. Speaker, about the tea that has been grounded at the auction in Mombasa, Mr. Speaker. For very many years in Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker, tea and coffee has always had market. Indeed, our tea happens to be among the best products in the whole world over, Mr. Speaker. Kenyan tea is used to blend every other tea in many, many nations, Mr. Speaker. We are some of the biggest suppliers to tea, to Egypt, Mr. Speaker. Even the Pakistani tea does not beat Kenyan tea, Mr. Speaker. And if you want to know the quality of tea from Kenya, just go to United States of America and order for a cup of tea. You will wonder whether that is tea or coffee that you are drinking, because the only tea that can effectively blend any tea to become tasty tea, it is only tea from the Republic of Kenya. So, Mr. Speaker, it then becomes very worrying that we have stocks of tea stuck in the auction in Mombasa, and whatever is happening needs to be resolved. And the Agriculture Committee must look into that issue very urgently, because the number of farmers who are waiting for that auction to unlock, Mr. Speaker, will be so many, and it will cause many peasant farmers to continue increasing their poverty index as opposed to reducing it, Mr. Speaker. And with those few remarks, I support that statement on the tea that is which has halted in Mombasa, the tea auction, Mr. Speaker, that has gone wrong, and I hope that the committees will render solutions to the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kinyua.
Asante Bwana Spika kunipa fursa hii. Kwanzia mwanzo Bwana Spika, nataka kusema ya kwamba Mswahili anasema kipitacho rohoni kinapaswa kuonekana usoni. Na Senator Shiengo vile alivyosema kuhusu Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, yeye anaonyesha kwa vitendo, kwa sababu nikimwangalia Bwana Spika, ninaona amevalia kofia ya chama cha kinachoongoza. Nikiangalia hata mkoba wake Bwana Spika, nakwambia ya kwamba
Senator Kinyua, if you have nothing to contribute on the statements that have been read, please give a chance to your colleagues.
No, Mr. Speaker, I am contributing. Okay. I'm contributing. Mr. Speaker, the good lady talked about what the good president is doing. Mr. Speaker, I'm in order to see what I'm saying. Mr. Speaker, kwa taarifa ambayo imeletwa
refer to your colleague as the honorable senator. We don't have good ladies, we don't have good gentlemen here. Proceed.
Okay. Asante Bwana Speaker. Bwana Speaker, naunga mkono taarifa iliyoletwa na Senator wa kutoka Meru, Gathuri. Bwana Speaker, kuna mikataba kila wakati ambayo inaandikwa katika gatuzi zetu. Mikataba ambayo ni madaktari na gatuzi zetu kuhusu vile ambavyo matibabu yatakuwa yakielekezwa. Bwana Speaker, mikataba hii ni kana kwamba haina faida ya kukamilishwa, ama wale ambao wanaandika hii mikataba hawana haja ya kukamilisha. Ndipo unapata kila wakati Bwana Speaker kuna migomo katika hospitali zetu. wananchi wa gatuzi zetu wanafanya vile ambavyo inapaswa, Bwana Spika. Unapata mtu amekata ile kadi ya NHIF, lakini akienda hospitali, Bwana Spika, hakuna dawa. Kwa hivyo kile ni cha manufaa, Bwana Spika, nikiunga mkono taarifa hiyo. Ni sengine inafika wakati nakisia vile ambavyo wananchi wa Kenya wengi wanavyosema, wanaona ni vizuri afya ama matibabu irudishwe katika serikali kubwa, Bwana Spika, kwa sababu gatuzi zetu zimezembea katika kazi yake. Muhula uliopita, Bwana Spika, kaunti ya Laikipia madaktari walikuwa wamegoma wote. Kaunti ya Kirinyaga madaktari walikuwa wamegoma. Bwana Spika, hakuna kitu kinaonekana kinaendelea kwa sababu ukiandikiwa dawa katika hospitali zetu, nimesikiza Chuti akisema unaambiwa unaenda hospitali, Bwana Spika, unaambiwa uje na maji, unaambiwa uje na sindano, kila kitu uje nacho. Ni kama hospitali yenyewe ni nyumba tu, wewe unapaswa kuja na kila kitu, Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, waziri ambao tayari sasa ameteuliwa na ako katika ile kazi, na Bwana Spika, jenzi walisema ya kwamba kunapaswa kuteuliwe mtu aliye na uzoefu, Bwana Spika, katika wizara aliyoteuliwa. Sasa tumemteua daktari ambaye ana uzoefu sasa, Bwana Spika. Sasa tunataka kutumuone Daktari Baraza akifanya ile kazi ambayo ameteuliwa kuifanya, ndio angalau wa Kenya wapate afueni, Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, kuna taarifa ambayo imeletwa na Asige, Bwana Spika. Nilitazama mashindano pale Paris, Kenya wakikimbia, Bwana Spika. Nilikuwa nikitazama nikiona huyu msichana ambaye anaitwa Yavi, ambaye baadaye nilijua ametoka Makueni, Bwana Spika. Nilitarajia kwa vile ambavyo niliangalia, lakini baadaye, Bwana Spika, nikiangalia katika mitandao ninaona ya kwamba anasema ya kwamba kisa na maana ya yeye kukua hakuweza kukimbia akiwakilisha nchi yetu ni ya kwamba aliitishwa zaidi ya 200,000, Bwana Spika. Pesa kama hizi hawezi akazipata, Bwana Spika. Lakini anasema ya kwamba hata baada ya ufisadi ulioko katika wizara, Bwana Spika, yeye alijikakamua na akaweza kuingia katika nchi ile. Bwana Spika, mimi ninajua ya kwamba Kipchumba Murkomen ambaye tumekuwa na yeye hapa, kwa sababu sasa amepatiwa hiyo wizara, najua atawajibika, Bwana Spika, na atatuletea, kwa sababu Bwana Spika, nilitazama nikiona ya kwamba sisi tutaenda kufuzu. Hakuna mbio ambazo Bwana Spika, mbio ambazo tumekuwa kila wakati tukifuzu. Bwana Spika, niliona wakimbiaji wa Kenya, Bwana Spika, wakipitwa na wale ambao watu singe kisia hata wangetushinda, Bwana Spika. Nilidhania wale watu wangetushinda katika ndoto, Bwana Spika, lakini sasa ilikuwa ikitendeka. Kwa hivyo waziri ambao wamechaguliwa, waziri wa afya, Bwana Spika, na waziri wa michezo Kipchumba Murkomen, kazi tayari wako nazo, na tayari akianza kazi, Bwana Spika, ana kazi chunguzima ambazo anapaswa kuzingatia. Bwana Spika, nikimaliza nataka kumrudishia Seneta Shengwe shukrani kwa yale ambayo amefanya, na tunamwambia heko na uendelee vivyo hivyo, kwa sababu umoja ni nguvu, utengano ni udhaifu. Asante, Bwana Spika.
Senator Sifuna.
Honorable Speaker, in that very same breath, allow me to support the statement that has been issued by Senator Cherargei. Honorable Speaker, you know, in my other capacity, I'm the SG of ODM, a party that has suffered the brunt of some of the things that Senator Cherargei is referring to. Mr. Speaker, there was a very public confession one time by the former Senator of Nairobi, the Honorable Mike Sonko, on what they used to do in order to paint the ODM party as a violent party whenever we would want to exercise our rights under Article 37. And Mr. Speaker, he revealed then this culture of people hiring goons in order to disrupt peaceful protests, or even to paint the peaceful protests as anything other than peaceful protest. I was very alarmed, Honorable Speaker, to see the scenes in Kapsabet. I saw the same scenes in Kakamega, and I have seen the same scenes here in Nairobi. Honorable Speaker, it is very worrying. I do not understand why you need to interfere with anybody's peaceful protest. There are 7 days in a week. If Sifuna wants to protest on Monday, you can very well pick Tuesday to show support or something against what I stand for. Honorable Speaker, what is even more worrying is that this happens in the full glare of the police and the security forces in this country. It is very disturbing, Honorable Speaker, that if the Constitution requires that anybody proceeding in a street, in a public space, should be unarmed, how can police just look at a group of people armed, openly armed, with rungus, with clubs, with other things, walking around in order to scare other people from exercising their rights under Article 37. Honorable Speaker, we must condemn this, and I am happy that even Senator Cherargei has gotten to a place where he can agree with the SG of ODM that this is not right and it needs to stop. Honorable Speaker, that's what I'm saying. I am very happy. So I want to support him and say that nobody should fetter on any other person's right to peacefully protest. It doesn't matter what your cause is. I don't have to agree with your cause. If I don't agree with your cause, let me sit at home and wait for the causes that I agree with to take me to the streets. But it is very unfair. And Honorable Speaker, although I have heard people sing praises about the cabinet secretaries that have been appointed, I was a bit disappointed with the cabinet secretaries that were reappointed, especially in the security sector. Because I personally don't believe that we are going to see any change in philosophy. Honorable Speaker, we need to see police reforms. We need to be able to secure these rights under the Constitution. If the same brains are the ones that were present when we were seeing goons in Kapsabet and in Kakamega, what expectation do we have really that there's something that is going to change? So, Honorable Speaker, I want to say this, and I want to say this as a senator of Nairobi. I will never judge anyone going to the streets for any cause, because I have been there myself. We have pushed for many things that are being pushed for even by the Gen Zs right now. And it is within their right. So for the police to allow people to interfere with them, Honorable Speaker, for me here in Nairobi, people just see me these days. They don't know how much I've suffered. Honorable Speaker, there was a phenomenon here in Nairobi called Nairobi Business Community. Those people, Honorable Speaker, used to scare us so that we cannot go to the streets. And I don't see them anymore. I don't know if their business is closed. I don't see them anymore. They used to be deployed specifically for Maandamano that is championed by ODM and the opposition. Honorable Speaker, we even saw sometimes you would hire a ground like Uhuru Park, and then a conflict arises out of nowhere. You hear there was supposed to be a crusade here by some obscure bishop, just so that you do not have that meeting at that particular point. So, as a staunch defender of the rights under Article 37, I want to fully associate myself with the statement that has been sought, and we need to bring those security chiefs here, especially the CS, the reinvented CS for security, internal security. I want to hear him tell us what he's going to do about this specter of people mobilizing goons in order to dissuade other people from participating in peaceful protests. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, on the statement that has been sought by Senator Crystal Asige, I do not know what Kenyans expected, because the output is as good as the input. The truth of the matter is that we are a country on on a downward trajectory when it comes to everything to do with sports in this country, because we have not invested in sports, Honorable Speaker. When Senator Veronica Maina talks about the stadium that has been built in Rwanda, do you know, Honorable Speaker, that the last meaningful national stadium or international stadium that was built in this country were built by President Moi? They were built by President Moi. Successive regimes since Moi built as Nyayo Stadium and built as the stadium in Kasarani. We have never done a structure to that level. Honorable Speaker, just a few months ago, I was here on this floor complaining that we football fans missed a critical fixture between Harambee Stars and the African champions Cote d'Ivoire because it had to be played in Malawi. It was very embarrassing, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this afternoon before I came to the House, I was watching the final of the national secondary schools soccer game between Highway Secondary and my alma mater, Musingu High School. Of course, I was very conflicted because I am the senator of Nairobi, but I also went to Musingu High School, and I want to congratulate Highway for their victory. I will be going to the school to see them later, Honorable Speaker. But the thing that I noticed from this year's games and even last year's games that were in Kakamega is that there is a yearning for sports in this country, and there is excellence in the grassroots. Buhungu Stadium last year hosted these games, and it was packed to the brim, the same as Gusii Stadium during this year's games. What is it that happens between talent at the grassroots and them being able to make it all the way to the national stage and even international stage? You had the story of the runner from Makueni, Honorable Speaker. We have frustrated our own people, and I cannot begrudge anybody who will want to go and look for opportunity elsewhere for as long as you are able to express your talent. Honorable Speaker, to this effect, I want to beg members of this House, I have sponsored a motion, a bill, to amend the Sports Act, because the Sports Act, Honorable Speaker, initially was supposed to bring some sort of cure to some of the problems we have identified. We were supposed to build academies in all the constituencies to support sporting activities at that level. It has never been done, because immediately those who were in power then saw how much money was actually being realized in the sports fund out of sports betting, Honorable Speaker. They decided to introduce things that have nothing to do with sports. On application of the fund, they introduced this thing of using money for universal health care. Honorable Speaker, that is where the problem is. I have sponsored an amendment. It was read for the first time here yesterday, Honorable Speaker, to the Sports